All right, guys, our learning or our topic today is on order of operations, and our learning target is that you at the end of this can be able to use order of operations to simplify. And so that is what we're going to look at today. This should be a review idea. Most of you guys should be just fine with this, but if not, here we go. Okay. So we have four basic mathematics operations. We have addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. And then underneath those we have a couple other vocab words that you need to make sure you know. An exponent, whenever we see an exponent, that's just repetitive multiplication. So again, an exponent is just repetitive multiplication. And then our expression is what we're going to be simplifying. So that's like a group of numbers that have been separated with different mathematical operations. Kind of like what you guys see right down here at the bottom. These three problems would be what we call an expression at that point in time. And so, again, hopefully you guys, again, have done this before. So we're just going to, again, this should be a quick and a quick one that should get you to where you need to be. So, so those are our four basic operations. Again, exponents. Exponents are just repetitive multiplication. If you really break it down, you can really simplify and get these so that everything kind of comes back to addition at that point in time. We're just really adding everything. So, anyway. So those are our different vocab words. Again, these four are our base operations, and then we have exponents and we have expressions. So when we talk about an order of operations, when we have these expressions, we have to do our mathematical simplifying in a specific order. And here's how we're going to look. So the first thing we're going to look for is any type of groupings. Okay? So we're going to look for a group. So those groups would consider to be like parentheses or like brackets or any sort of fraction. So again, I'm just going to make a note here. Any type of fraction that has expressions that has an expression here on the numerator and an expression in the denominator. Okay, so I'm going to look for those groupings first. That's the first thing I'm going to do. And when I look at those groupings, within each of those groupings, I'm going to follow a specific order. The first thing I'm going to do is look for any type of exponents. So that's going to be my first part. Any type of exponents that I can simplify. So anything that has, like, again, 2 to the third. So this 3 is an exponent. Remember, when we do that, that 2 to the third is really just 2 times 2 times 2. Okay? And so I'm going to look for those things that have exponents within those groupings. Okay? Once I'm done simplifying this, again, I would simplify this 2 to the third within that expression. That becomes 8. Then I look for any multiplication. Oops, sorry. My bad. I'm struggling with my pen here, guys. Hold up just a second. So I'm going to do any multiplying and division. And I'm going to work left to right with this. Okay? So I'm going to look within that expression. I'm going to work left to right within that document, within that expression. Okay? And then the last thing I'm going to do is look for any subtraction / addition. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to work left to right, even though it's not as critical with adding, subtracting. It's just a good habit to get yourself into with that. And so we're going to do that within each of the groupings. And then once I'm done with the groupings, then I just take my string of numbers and just do my exponents, my multiplying, dividing, adding, subtracting. Again, really important to understand that these are done simultaneous. It's not multiply then divide. It's multiplying and dividing together, working left to right. Okay. All right. So let's look at a couple of these down yonder here. Okay. So if I look at this first one, this is my expression: 5 minus 4 divided by 2 plus 7 times 3. If I look at it, there's no grouping, meaning there's no parentheses, there's no brackets, there's no fractions with expression over expression. Okay, so if there's not anything with that, I just move right to this next step, and this is my expression. So I look for any exponents. There are no exponents, so I don't worry about anything with the groupings. I don't worry about anything with exponents. Then the next thing I do is look for my multiplication and division. And I work left to right. I have a division here, and I have a multiplying right there. So I'm going to take this one on the left first and divide those two numbers. When I do that, 4 divided by 2 is 2. And then I'm going to take the other two that are multiplying, 7 times 3, and I'm going to multiply those two, and that'll give me 21. That's really critical that you guys drop the signs down. So this will become plus, and this will be a minus with a 5 as well. So that's taking care of my multiplying and dividing. Now I'm going to move to my subtracting and adding. Okay, and I'm just going to work left to right. So I'm going to go 5 minus 2, which is 3. And then I'm going to add the 21 to it, and that'll give me 24. And that 24 is my simplified final answer from that. Okay, so that's really, really base one for that one. Okay, all right, let's look at this second example. So I'm going to do the same, again, it's the same process over and over again. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is look for any groupings. So I have parentheses. Nope, I do not have brackets, but I do have a fraction with an expression over expression. So I'm just going to take the top or the numerator here, and I'm going to look for any exponents, then multiply, divide, then add and subtract within that numerator. Okay? So if you look at that numerator, there is no there's no grouping within that. Okay, so I go to my exponents, so there's no exponents. I go to multiply, divide, there's a divide sign, so I'm going to divide those two, which 6 divided by 6 is 1. And then there's my subtract, which when I subtract that, that is going to give me, again, 3. Okay. Then I look, before I do anything, then I'm going to look at the denominator, the bottom part of my fraction. I'm just going to do my exponents, multiply, divide, add, and subtract. So there's no exponents in the bottom. There's no multiplying, dividing in the denominator, and there's no subtracting and adding in the denominator. Or sorry, there is one there's no subtracting, but there's adding. So when I add those, again, 7 plus 5, when I add those two together, that gives me 12. So I'm left here with 3 over 12. Okay? And so the last thing to do is to put it in a simplified fraction or decimal form, depending on what it's asking for. Honestly, a lot of times we just simplify this to a simplified fraction where 3 goes into both of them. So I'm left with 1 over 4. If you're like 3 over 4 is not necessarily wrong, you could also put this as again 0.25 as well for that as well. So, and that works for that one as well. So honestly, either way, just look and see what form they want it in, whether they want it in decimal form or fraction form. So. Okay, this last one, there's a lot of stuff going on, but we're going to look at, we're going to go through the order again. Look for groupings and exponents, then multiplying, dividing, and then subtract and add. Okay, so there are groupings here, and I have multiple groupings. So I'm going to start with the inside one, and then work out, essentially. So if I look at this inside, I just have this 4 minus 3 here, which means there's no exponents, there's multiplying and divide, just subtraction. So this would simplify to 3 is what I'd get from that. And then once I'm done with that, I can get rid of that set of parentheses. So if I rewrote this, this would be what this would look like. Okay, now I've got two different sets of groupings. I'm going to take care of the left grouping and then the right grouping. So if I take care of this left grouping, that's just 3 minus 6, which again, 3 minus 6 is going to give me negative 3. And then I'm going to rewrite. Okay, now I'm going to take care of the right grouping. Okay, and this one, we're just going to leave it as, we're going to put them as a decimal for this one. So if I go 3 divided by 8, when I do that, that gives me 0.375 is what you get for that. And again, guys, that is perfectly A-okay to have that as well, okay? Okay, once, I still have my parentheses, but once I'm simplified inside, my groupings are done. And so then I move to my exponents. So if I look here, I've got my exponent here of negative 3 squared. Again, that's negative 3 times negative 3. And I take care of that. That'll become positive 9. And then I can get rid of my exponents as well with that. Okay? Okay. And then our next one, we've got this multiplying. Whenever this number is touching the parentheses, it's just multiplying. So I have multiplying and multiplying. So all I'm going to do is work left to right with that and multiply. So I'll go 9 times 2. And I'm going to move this right up here, guys. So 9 times 2 gives me 18. And then I have this 0.375 that I'm still multiplying it to. And so if I go 18 times 0.375, that gives me, again, 6.75. And that will be my simplified expression for that one as well. So guys, again, order of operations, just follow the path. Follow doing groupings. And within those groupings, you do exponents, multiply, divide, add, and subtract. Okay, and then once you get everything simplified, you do your exponents. Then you do your multiply, divide simultaneously, left to right, and then subtract and add. I call this GEMS. This is how I remember it, is groupings, exponents, multiply, divide, subtract, add. So, because those are both within that. So, all right, this is your concept here, and we will talk to you later. Bye.